Today, we are diving deep into one of the most disturbing and tangled scandals of our time, the dark web of secrets surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, his infamous private island, and the incredibly powerful people connected to him. Let's get right into it. So it all really starts here, on Little St. James, a 75-acre island in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Epstein bought it back in 1998, and from the outside, it looked like an absolute paradise. I mean, we're talking about perfect beaches, stunning luxury villas, enormous swimming pools, even a helipad for his very exclusive guests. On the surface, it was the ultimate billionaire's playground. But underneath that beautiful, picture-perfect exterior was a truly horrifying secret. You see, the locals, well, they had a different name for this place, a much more sinister one, because it was on this island that young girls, some as young as 12 years old, were allegedly trafficked, trapped, and systematically abused. So who exactly were the guests at this island hideaway? Well, the list of visitors is as stunning as it is disturbing. It included royalty like Britain's Prince Andrew, world-famous scientists like Stephen Hawking, and a constant revolving door of powerful politicians, celebrities, and billionaires from all over the world. This wasn't some small contained secret. This was a network that reached into the absolute highest levels of power and influence. So, how did this whole perfect facade begin to crack? Well, the story doesn't start on the island. It actually starts in Florida, way back in 2005, with a single police complaint filed by the parents of a 14-year-old girl. And what investigators started to uncover was a chillingly effective predatory system. It would start with a young girl being lured to Epstein's mansion, promised a couple $100 for a massage. After being abused, she would then be paid extra money to go out and recruit her own friends. And that's the key part. The whole system was designed to turn victims into recruiters, creating this devastating pyramid scheme of abuse that just kept pulling in more and more young girls. By 2006, the police and the FBI had built what really should have been an airtight case. They'd identified at least 36 minor victims and had enough evidence for federal charges that could have landed Epstein in prison for the rest of his life. But something else was going on behind the scenes. The legal tool that was used to protect him is something called a non-prosecution agreement, which basically grants a kind of immunity. Now, usually, you give immunity to a lower-level player to help you catch a bigger fish. But in this case, the deal felt like it was specifically engineered to protect one incredibly powerful man and his associates from any real consequences. The deal itself, which was put together by the federal attorney at the time, Alexander Acosta, was a total masterpiece of injustice. Epstein pleaded guilty to just 2 minor state charges. In exchange, he and anyone who might have been a co-conspirator got blanket immunity from all federal prosecution. And the craziest part? The entire deal was sealed, illegally hidden from the very victims it was supposed to serve. And the punishment for all of this? A mere 18 months. And this wasn't exactly hard time either. He was put in a private wing of the county jail and was given work release, which meant he could leave to go to his office for 12 hours a day, 6 days a week. He basically just had to sleep at the jail. After he got out in 2009, Epstein just went right back to his life of luxury, and the story kind of went cold. It really seemed like he had gotten away with it. But one investigative journalist, Julie K. Brown from the Miami Herald, absolutely refused to let the story die. For years, she dug and dug into this case. Then, in 2018, the Miami Herald published her explosive series, Perversion of Justice. It laid out in meticulous detail not just Epstein's crimes, but the secret deal that protected him. And by identifying over 80 potential victims, her reporting ignited a national firestorm of outrage that just couldn't be ignored anymore. The pressure from Brown's reporting was just immense, and things started to happen fast. In July 2019, federal prosecutors in New York arrested Epstein again. This time, he was facing up to 45 years in prison. But just a month later, the story took its most shocking turn yet. Epstein was found dead in his cell. The official cause was suicide, but that immediately set off a massive storm of conspiracy theories. Epstein's death didn't end the story. It just shifted the focus. With the mean guy gone, all the public attention turned to his powerful friends and the secrets he might have taken to the grave. And this became a huge political issue, especially surrounding then-President Donald Trump. And this created a kind of political whiplash. See, before the 2020 election, Trump promised his supporters he would declassify all of the Epstein Files, fueling all these theories that they would expose his political rivals. But after the election, his tune changed completely. All of a sudden, the files were just boring stuff and part of a Democrat hoax. So, why the complete 180? Well, the relationship between Trump and Epstein wasn't just a casual one. This was a friendship that went back 2 decades. They were seen together constantly at parties, in their homes. An ex-employee even said they talk on the phone multiple times a week. Trump himself once famously called Epstein a terrific guy. So this deep connection made his reversal on releasing the files seem all the more suspicious. But the public pressure didn't just go away. Eventually, Congress had to force the Justice Department to start releasing some of the files. What the public actually got, though, was nowhere near the full story. Just to give you a sense of the scale of the secrecy here, take a look at this. Out of potentially more than 1 million documents related to this case, only a few thousand have ever been released to the public. The vast, vast majority of what the FBI and other agencies know about Epstein and his whole network is still hidden. And yet, even in the tiny fraction of files we did get, there were some absolute bombshells. In one email, Epstein himself claimed that Donald Trump knew about the abuse of young girls, but instead of calling the police, he supposedly just asked Epstein's associate, Ghislaine Maxwell, to stop all this. But for every single shocking revelation like that one, we get pages and pages that look like this. Just thick black lines covering up names, dates, and locations. This is called reduction, and it's being used to hide the most critical details. Who flew on the plane? Who did they meet? We're just not allowed to know. The documents that were partially released had even more damning stuff. An FBI call log detailed a limo driver's claim that he overheard Trump back in 1995 discussing the abuse of a girl. And then there was a letter supposedly from Epstein that drew a direct line between himself and then-President Trump over their shared love for young girls. The official response from Trump's Justice Department was incredibly swift. Without any public report of an independent investigation, they just declared the serious rape allegations untrue and brushed off the incriminating letter as a fake. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. But let's be clear, this is not the end of the story. With over 1 million documents still locked away and countless names still blacked out, the central question hangs in the air. This was never just about one man. It was about the entire network of wealth and power that allowed him to operate. Who are they? And who is still being protected by all these secrets?